Bonjour, YouTube, and welcome to part 22. 22 parts already of God of War Ragnarök with a therapist. Those of you that are just coming in from part 21 and are stringing them together, what's up? Good to see you. If you were waiting for this to come out, glad to finally have it here. Use this time while I do this regular spiel to like the stream, or the video, I mean, by hitting the thumbs up button. Leave a comment throughout the stream at some point if you'd like. Follow all the links in the description. And if you'd like to become a member, I want to take a second to appreciate everybody who supports this stream financially, whether that's by purchasing merch or becoming a member on YouTube or subscribing over on Twitch or whatever it may be, or listening to my music on Spotify, Apple Music, and other streaming services. Thank you so much for that support as well. But as always, more than anything, what I appreciate the most is your presence. So thanks for making it this far with me. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to analyze this game for you and to provide my insights. I hope that you've been enjoying it. I assume you have, since you're still here. All right, Brock, let's get to the forge. Brock will lead us to the forge. Let's make it happen.
Quit your nattering, you snake-sucking mommy milksops, with your protective gear. Ain't you never seen a legend in the flesh before?
I would probably be terrified of Kratos showing up. He's talking about Brock. Is he his bodyguard? Oh, I love that. I love how self-aware this game is. It's so good. So good.
Well, that ain't no good. You see what's wrong here, don't you? Those creepy flying eyeballs made a nest up on the cables. We gotta figure a way up there and clear them all.
All right. God of Pest Control. Engage.
Nicely done.
What do you think, Brock?
Okay, looks like that wheel up there opens the gate. Not that we can reach it or anything.
Not that you can reach it. Look at that. You just light up that elevator and be on our way.
No grappling up that way. Why don't you look around and see if there's a way to lift this lift?
Convenient. And watch out. Don't know why that makes a difference. What the hell?
Brother, did you notice the dwarves of the camp were twice as alarmed to see Brock than they were to see you?
They did seem surprised.
All right. Now I can turn this crank and cap that geyser there. You just give me the signal when you're ready.
Okay, so Mirror is registering that as odd, which is interesting to me. I mean, I guess we don't know a ton about Brock and Sindri as it relates to them being like what the people of Svartalfheim would think of them, so. Oh.
Now.
On it! He is dead! We gotta have a full stop at once, see?
Yeah, I see.
Turn
Hey,
it.
copy that. Look around. Find an angle. Ain't this what you do?
Oh, interesting. So there's a... Okay.
Hey, I got the crank covered. You do the...
Turn it again.
Aye, aye.
Okay. Oh, there's another... Okay. There we go.
Ah, promising.
Yeah, but we need to...
Once more.
Aye, aye. There you go. Right on the money.
Again.
Get so... Come on through and get those cables.
Ah. Neato. Okie dokie. Atlas Eruption. Rapidly slam both blades into the ground to spark explosions all around. Mash R2 for more slams. Well, that's pretty cool. 2 destructive blade slams that stagger and launch enemies. I kind of like that. We're going to do the Eruption. Oh, and then we... Oh my god, have I been able to do this the entire time? Oh boy. Oh, wow. Okay, well... That's, Ha 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 ha! Woo! Okay, well. That's fun. It's kind of neat, huh? I suppose. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad. You know what, chat? Yeah, big kudos to you guys for not spoiling that. All right, there are people in the VOD right now that are like, yes. Cool. Would you look at that? What a Chad. You were fighting at level 1. I was. I am a Chad. I should change my name to Dr. Chad. What a missed opportunity. I also am playing on the easiest difficulty, so there's that, you know. All right.
Incoming! Above you! Finally! Now we can ride on up to the fort. Come on! The lady's waiting. Hey, got another riddle for you. What gets bigger the more you take away from it?
Well, let's see. Something abstract, I expect. Appetite? No, that doesn't work.
Stump the stump.
Oh, isn't that clever? spam pot.
Wait, answer the question, Brock. What is it? Stump to the stump. He's just gonna leave us hanging. Yep. What was the question again? What gets bigger the more you believe? Is the answer suspense? Because if it's suspense, that's clever. I think it's suspense. Would be my answer.
Ooh, that's brisk. Think I'll grab some for the lady.
Grab some what? The wind?
No, you idiot. The sound of the wind.
How?
Watch and learn. See? Dwarven magic's all about the intangibles. The relationship between the stuff what you can touch and what you can't. It's about understanding.
Understanding what?
The nature of a thing's more important than the form of a thing.
Ooh, that was a very inquisitive from Kratos.
Hang on. I smell trouble. You! Yeah, hit me already! You ain't gonna land a single hit! Just gonna embarrass yourself trying!
Wow, look at those upgrades.
Lady, then.
The Lady of the Forge. Ain't no more magical creature in this whole realm. Why, I've been waiting for my chance to meet her since I was knee-high to a Noken. But Sindri'd never have it. Said I was too uncouth. But today's finally the day. Whoa! I got goosebumps on my bunions.
Bro, I've never seen you so reverent. Are you nervous?
What? Shut up. No, fuck you.
You know, for all the ragging on Mimir that I've done through this playthrough, that was actually pretty good by him. I don't know if that's Freya rubbing off on him or what, but that's a pretty good read on him. A lot of the insight that you can derive into people's experience is often based on when their patterns don't perpetuate, or when you see an anomaly in a person's behavior. And I love how Mimir is quick to notice that there is a difference in the way in which Brock is engaging on this particular topic than he normally would. He's often pretty like jokey and dismissive or in your face, and there's a reverence is the greatest word he could have used there as it relates to the lady in the forge. I think where Mimir falls a bit short, if he's trying to connect with Brock, is that he notices that aloud in a jabbing kind of way. Like, you know, are you nervous kind of way, instead of being like, oh, dude, are you nervous about this? Like, this seems like it's a big deal to you. There's a difference in the way in which you say that phrase that can elicit a different response depending on what you're going for. But I do think it's neat that Mimir noticed that, because you don't have to call out every single break and pattern you ever see in the people that you're around. But you can gain significant insight into people when you notice disruptions or changes in their general response or way of navigating a certain situation or topic or thing. And that's a good window sometimes into asking questions and building connection with them if you can empathize with that or be curious about it. So that's why I wanted to pause just to say something about that, because it was really a neat moment there that I would expect more from Freya than I would from Mimir. So that's really what cued me in as well, is that's a change in behavior for Mimir. If we get really meta here, Mimir is not generally one to notice a disruption in like that and then point it out in that way. And he did there. So Mimir also seems to potentially be learning about how to get a read on the people that he's hanging out with. No pun intended. Ooh. Oh, we're going into the water?
Come on, Pasty. Turn the crank. Let's do this.
Coming with Brock?
It does not work.
Huh? What is it this time? Out of the way. Let me look. Oh, fuck no. Do I gotta fix everything in this dang city my own self? I'm gonna need a couple of things. Follow me. Yeesh, if this place ain't in some disrepair. It's disrespectful, I tell you. I need that axe of ours to go kiss that material out yonder. The spiky silvery stuff. You'll figure it out.
This lady, what does she do?
Well, we'll both see soon enough, won't we? I know this, though. If we're real lucky, she'll give us her blessing. Doesn't give them to every piece, but the ones she does, there's something to behold.
The axe?
Well, that particular process was a whole nother cluster hump. Maybe sometime I'll spin you that tale.
Okay. Supposed to give you this, Brock? More repairs are needed in order to reach the Lady of the Forge. Oh, this stuff. Okay. Yeah.
Faye's the only one who ever got my highbrow sense of humor. Damn fine woman she was. Apart from her taste in men, of course. Now I need a chunk.
Kratos doesn't say anything there. And I think that gives us a lot of insight into the nature of his relationship to Brock. Like, he just brought Faye up so nonchalantly. And in a way that I think Kratos might agree kind of speaks plain. And Kratos doesn't get pissed. He doesn't say, you don't talk about her. He doesn't do any of that stuff. He just lets Brock go. Maybe because the nature of Brock's relationship to Faye was really strong. Maybe it's that he shares a reverence for Faye that Kratos has. Whatever it may be, Kratos' lack of response to Brock talking about Faye there tells us a lot about how much Kratos trusts him and cares about him and is willing to take what he says, albeit in a very like jokey way, very seriously. And I think that that's one of the things that is most appreciable about Brock is that despite the fact that everything is a joke and that he's goofy and he's funny, underneath it, Brock gets it. And he's serious about what he's doing. He cares about the people he's around. And it's a lot more palatable to take on some of his lightheartedness when you know that underneath it, he feels strongly and he understands the context that he's in. And I have to believe that there are aspects of that with Brock that Kratos is drawn to, maybe even because those are similar traits that he was drawn to in Faye, who knew how to be not so serious and all the time and was real with him. And he knew that he could rely on her and that she got it. Like, I think there's something about that type of person that Kratos is drawn toward, because he himself is not really good with the varnish. He's pretty raw. But he can appreciate when people connect on that level, but perhaps have a skill set that's above and beyond his own, and there's a level of respect for that. But I don't want to sell short the fact that when Brock just talks about Faye out of the blue, Kratos appears to be totally okay with it by not responding. It says a lot about their relationship. That's how you can get good insight sometimes into people's relationship too, is what they are and aren't willing to put up with when vulnerable stuff is thrown on the table.
That bronze material by all that busted up wood.
Bronze material.
Back in those days, I'd get so caught up in trying to be the best that I'd work till I plumb dropped. Time goes by and there's less to prove. You learn to keep your own pace. Save your extra effort for when it's personal. Like for when you finally get to show the lady who you are.
And when you're Kratos, I mean, that's really good stuff too. You work, and then you learn to pick your spots. Kratos is the same way. That's wisdom and age. Brock's awesome. He's not a dummy either, which I think makes him a threat to people like Odin.
Wow, Cody, you sure did give up on that riddle in a hurry.
I give up nothing. Gets bigger the more you take away, is it?
That's right.
Sorted. It's desire.
Nope.
What do you mean, nope? Desire only grows when you take away the thing you desire.
Not true.
All right, it's not perfect, but let's hear your answer.
Oh, you won't get it out of me that easy.
That is not true. I wanna pause here real quick and just make sure that everybody knows that what Mimir said is not true. Yes, there are times when separating yourself from something you care about can lead to an increase in desire to be proximal to it or to have more of it. But you can cultivate desire via effort, in relationships in particular. If you put the right amount of effort into your relationships, if you communicate effectively, if you do the work, desire can grow from that. You do not have to be absent and withdraw in order to cultivate desire. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people that think that that's the case. A lot of people who think we need to separate in order for us to find ourselves and feel more connected and desire each other more. Not necessarily. Sometimes what you need to do is the work, and you need to lean in, and you need to find the things that are desirable about the person or people that you're trying to engage with, or the thing that you're trying to engage with. It's not always about withdrawal to find desire. And a lot of people get into a binary with that. Sometimes it is that, sometimes it isn't. I don't like Mimir putting it into that one camp. So just word to the wise on that one. Yep, indeed, Dante, and I think that's what I think that's what's so great about him as a character.
All right, let's get back to business. One more crank to turn and it's on to the forge.
I see no forge.
You don't see the form of a forge, but we're going to the nature of one.
Ooh.
I was almost following him for a moment there.
We're good. Crank it.
Where is the forge?
Here she comes.
Whoa. I just got chills, man. That's so good.
She needs the final ingredient. The blood of a god. Give her your hand.
Dude.
Galvifrater almost forgot. Ma'am, it would be an honor if you might bless it for us. Are you, hello? Hello? The fuck was that? She acts like I weren't even here.
Mermaids don't speak to our corporeal bodies. They speak to a part of our soul. A part specifically you might be missing.
Holy shit, what a way to find out about that. Are you fucking kidding me? Jesus Christ, Mimir.
Fuck! Damn it, Sindri, you lion cat scrubber! I knew it. I died. I fucking died! The fuck you want?
It needs a blessing.
Yeah, well, the one to give us the blessing just fucked off into the tomb.
It needs the blessing of a great blacksmith.
What? No, I can't bless shit. I don't have all my soul bits. The blessing wouldn't mean squat.
It is the nature of a thing that matters, not its form.
All right. May this weapon strike true. May it be wielded with wisdom. May it be put down when its job is done.
Let us return home.
God damn, is that good? Oh, are you kidding me? Jesus. Wow. I don't know that there has been a moment in this game that represents the sheer emotional growth of Kratos than that. That is the actualization of Kratos, the man. I mean, seriously. As we've talked about on a few points in this playthrough, Kratos listens. He observes. He synthesizes information. His silence is not due to a lack of presence. It's because he legitimately, I think, really tries to understand and take his environment in and appreciate the context he's in and the relationships that he's engaged with when he's in them, which is something we could all learn from. The only way that Kratos is able to facilitate that moment with Brock is by doing the work and by observing and listening. Understanding where Brock is coming from with the wisdom that he's that he's spitting out and what it means, and then asking himself, how can I use this information at some point, either in the near future or eventually, to connect with Brock further? That is awesome. The amount of patience and empathy that Kratos has there in the Forge. He was just given this super badass weapon. Mimir drops probably the most devastating information that Brock could receive. And Kratos immediately reads the vulnerability of that situation and says, you know what Brock needs here? A taste of his own medicine. He needs to walk the talk that he was giving me as we approached this forge. And so now I'm going to use what he said to me as a way to connect with him in this moment of vulnerability and empower him to realize that he's more than just the sum of 4 souls to me. Whatever that means for Brock is for Brock to go through. But to me, Kratos, you, Brock, are meaningful to me. And I am about to empower you. And show you that you are more than just the sum of some souls and the work that you do. And that is awesome. I love it. It's written to perfection. That is the actualization of true just empathy and presence. And it's fantastic. The reason that pulls an emotional response out of us is because I think it's something that we all, if we can't necessarily connect with it experientially, we all certainly, I think, would love to have that kind of moment with somebody that's meaningful to us. Freaking beautiful, man. Absolutely beautiful. We don't see Brock get out of sorts very often. And Sindri's choice, I want to go back to for a second and talk about why Brock would have the reaction that he had. He says as much, but I don't think that Brock's reaction to getting that information has to do with the fact that he only has 3 out of 4 souls. The reason that he's so affected there is because Sindri lied to him. And Sindri took some of his autonomy away. And he's getting this information from a third party rather than from Sindri himself. And I have to believe that hurts him a lot. Because Sindri's ride or die. And the fact that Sindri would withhold that probably as out of his own sense of need to self-preserve creates a pretty unfortunate dynamic now between the two of them. Would we have preferred to have Sindri be the one that delivered that information to Brock? Yeah. Is the information that Mimir disclosed pertinent to the specific instance that we're in right now? Yeah. And I don't even know that this was the product of Mimir having the information and not wanting to disclose it and then picking his spot. It may just be that Mimir put it together in that moment. Like, I don't have a sense necessarily that Sindri went to Mimir and said, don't tell Brock. My guess is that was him drawing a conclusion based on the information at hand of what he knows about mermaids, and then seeing Brock try to connect, and then realizing, holy shit, you don't have all your soul, because that's what they talk to. And so then Brock is the one that draws the full conclusion, which is, God damn it. When I died, Sindri didn't put all the parts of my soul back. So this was not Mimir jumping out of line here. This was Mimir drawing a conclusion based on information. And honestly, that's a risk that Sindri runs by not disclosing the information. Sindri knows, and I think kind of knew here when he was fighting to be the one that went to the lake, because he knew that Brock was going to be excited about this. And he knew potentially that the mermaid wasn't going to be able to reach him because of the fact that he doesn't have his souls, and that Mimir being strapped to Kratos' ass was going to know the answer to this, of why that's the case. And so now Sindri's been found out. Like, he's not an idiot. So this is the product of Sindri not disclosing the information to Brock out of self-preservation or some assumption about Brock or otherwise. But this is a real lesson in why you really shouldn't withhold information from people just because you think it's going to upset them. You have to give people the autonomy of their reaction to the information that affects them directly. And this affects Brock directly. So his anger directed at Sindri makes a lot of sense. And it's going to be really interesting to see what happens here. But I don't think Mimir was out of bounds in saying that. I think that's Mimir just giving good information. And now Brock's got to decide what he wants to do with that. And Sindri knew this was coming and is probably well prepared for what's going to happen when we get back. Whew. Because that's the thing, right? Like, really, like, think about that for a second. If you think about the general theme of this game, when I've been talking about autonomy and the desire for all of us to have a sense of control in our lives and to have that autonomy, Sindri stole, essentially, the biggest moment of Brock's life. The sheer reverence through which Brock was talking about the Lady of the Lake and wanting the opportunity to engage with her, and then not being able to do it is a huge disappointment. And then to realize it's due to the fact that his brother made a choice that he didn't get to have a say in is devastating. Now, I know that there's going to be people that are watching me say this right now that are like, yeah, but Brock wouldn't be here if Sindri didn't do that. While that's true, it doesn't mean that Sindri is entitled to gratefulness from Brock. Doesn't mean that Brock automatically is indebted to Sindri. Sindri made that choice for him. So if you're going to make that kind of choice for a person, I mean, I think about this as being akin to somebody potentially, I mean, I don't know if Brock would have wanted to stay dead or not, but this is similar bones to like if somebody has a DNR, a do not resuscitate, and a family member decides to resurrect that person despite the fact that they're going to be living in utter pain and without their faculties when they are resurrected, so to speak. Like, you don't get to have your family member be excited and grateful about the choice you made when they didn't have a say in it. This says more about Sindri than it does about Brock. And if you go an extra level, this says more about what Sindri thinks about Brock than it does Brock or Sindri. And Brock is going to have to wrestle with the fact that there's a significant amount of dissonance, I suppose, and the fact that he's back alive and he gets to have meaning and engage with the world, but at what cost? The cost of a part of his soul being gone, which led to him being disconnected from something that he'd been looking forward to for his entire existence. That's a lot to take on. That would piss me off too. It's a stripping of autonomy. Now, I'm not going to completely roast Sindri here. I can understand why Sindri made the decision he made. Brock and Sindri are like this. If Sindri doesn't have Brock available to him, and then Kratos and Atreus are up to God knows what, and he's alone, that's a pretty devastating thing. And people make pretty rash decisions in the name of salvaging connection to the people that they care about. They do that. It's very real. I mean, there are plenty of people that would make the decision that Sindri made and are lying to themselves if they say they wouldn't. So it makes this incredibly complex. Now, what's the order of operations on how you rectify this if you're going to rectify it? It's a great follow-up question, chat. I'll answer that for you. So the impact of the choice that Sindri made has to be acknowledged first if we're going to do this constructively. Brock gets to be pissed. He gets to be sad, disappointed, angry, whatever it is that's going on for him. And Sindri has to acknowledge that he lied by omission, has to acknowledge whatever it is that's going on for Brock, and has to give him that space. And until he does that, Sindri is not entitled to Brock empathizing with why he made that choice. Now, at some point, if Brock and Sindri want to repair their relationship, if it needs repairing, at some point, Brock is going to need to lean into that. Brock is going to need to lean in and say, all right, why'd you do that? And then he has to acknowledge and validate what was going on for Sindri when he made that. And the two of them jointly have to decide what they're going to do about it. And Brock gets to set his boundaries. That is correct. But Brock has to be attended to first because Brock is the beneficiary of the decision that was made. It's got very similar bones to like when people have an affair. The person who was the victim of the affair is the one who gets the space first. And the person who engaged in the affair has to sit in the doghouse and deal with it and validate and stuff. And eventually there will be a point in time where the person who was cheated on has to come to a point of acknowledging and validating the reasons why the person cheated. And that's a very hard journey to go on. But the bones of this are similar. And the point of this is impact has to be acknowledged before intention. Pretty much always when there's strife in interpersonal relationships. If you're in a position like knowing in confidence about Brock's situation, what's your take on choosing to break that to provide context to his dissonance after this? So I don't know how much that applies here, Jai, because Kratos didn't know, and neither did Mimir until Mimir figured it out. I think if Sindri had disclosed this information to Kratos, and then we were in this position where we are in need of Brock's assistance, and we know that that information being disclosed to Brock is important as it relates to what we're trying to accomplish in the moment, then I think you disclose it. I'm not a huge fan of hamstringing yourself in a problem-solving situation that's calling for action because you feel some sense of loyalty to keeping a secret. Because at the end of the day, whether that information is locked behind a secret or whether it's out in the open, Brock doesn't have that part of his soul. That is a variable that is operating and being worked with at all points in time. Doesn't matter whether we ignore it or not. Brock, no matter if everybody keeps that secret, it doesn't make it so that Brock can talk to that mermaid. If everybody tells Brock that he doesn't have a piece of his soul, then he can make a more informed decision about what he wants to do with that mermaid. Of whether he wants to go down there and try to speak with her, knowing that a part of his soul is missing. So when it involves the situation at hand that needs to be attended to, if disclosing that information is necessary, I am always 100% of the time a fan of working with as much information as you can possibly have to make the best decision you can possibly make. Sometimes that means at the expense of your alliance to somebody because you disclose a secret. I don't believe in disclosing secrets just because you're anxious about the fact that you're holding on to information you don't want to hold on to. That's different. But that's a legitimate factor in what just happened here. So had Kratos or Mimir known that information from Sindri, it's okay for them, I think, in that position to say, Brock, the reason you can't do it is you don't have a fourth part of your soul. And I know that because Sindri told me, and it didn't really seem relevant until now for me to tell you. And then if you're Brock, you don't want to shoot the messenger on that. It's very complicated, but there's a lot going on in that scene. A lot going on in that scene. Good shit, man.
Now you know I can't let you take our new gal home without giving her a twirl. Look, we got volunteers.
How do I pull it out? Oh, shit. Yeah! Oh, yeah.
It is the first weapon a Spartan learns.
Well, hell, ain't this just like old times there?
Look at more forebodingly myself.
Brother, that groom's found a perch on high.
What?
All you
Oh.
like. Drop narrow, mate.
Oh, that's cool. So you get infinite spears because drop near infinitely replicates. That's awesome.
Adequate enough for you?
It will serve.
The Draupnir spear's looking pretty battle-worthy to me. Let's see if she can help us get out of here, too. Up there, see that weak spot? Jam one in right there.
Oh, that's so badass.
Trust me, Huck a spear right up there where it looks weak. That's it. Now do the thing. Yep. Guess we're doing this one boy style. Listen, I appreciate what you said back there. It's good to have friends when you find out your brother's a rack-scabbing liar.
No doubt he only wished to protect you.
Weren't his call to make. The guy dies, he's got the right to know about it.
Take heart, Brock. We all die sometime. Many of us more than once.
No, never mind all that. We gotta finish putting the spirit through her paces. Come on. Might have to get creative up ahead.
Okay. I appreciate a lot that Brock is willing to express his appreciation for what Kratos said. As a general rule of thumb, as I've said many times in many playthroughs, if you experience a sense of appreciation for somebody or what somebody did, telling them is awesome because it essentially rewards a person for doing something that you've deemed to be desirable interpersonally. So I love that Brock was willing to say that. I also think it's a initiation of acknowledgement that that was very vulnerable for him, and I think it's a great way for him to acknowledge that and say thank you in a way that Kratos can understand. Awesome. That said, I am not a huge fan of Kratos and Brock's response. We're going to start with Kratos. So Brock says, I'm really appreciative of the fact that you said what you said. It's nice to have friends when your brother is a liar. And Kratos takes the perspective of attempting to empathize with Sindri as a way to try to reframe the way that Brock is looking at Sindri and as a way to abstractly diffuse the tension between the two of them. And this is a natural tendency for a lot of people, is to try to find that empathy to help a person better understand the situation in whole because they're emotional. That is pretty invalidating. And while Kratos might be correct, he's not talking to Sindri right now. He is talking to Brock. He would do a lot better to say something along the lines of, what's that like for you, Brock, to get that information? Or to have to put the word liar next to your brother's name. That's the better path there. That's the connective, validating, acknowledging statement, rather than immediately pushing to try to empathize with who is considered to be the adversarial position in that space. You might think that you're doing good there and that you're this well-rounded, well-thought, objective, omniscient person, but generally you're going to miss the mark when you take that kind of position. They're lucky that Brock is willing to be flexible in his response to that, and I give him credit for that. And I am not a huge fan of Kratos' response there. I'm also not a huge fan of Mimir's response to, well, we all die, so normalization there is something that takes away from Brock's subjective experience, which he is trying to work his way through and disclose to people that he considers to be his friend. And even though Mimir is correct that we all die, this is not the time to make that point, because that's not the point of what Brock is talking about. What Brock is talking about is my autonomy and my right to information about myself was taken from me by my brother, and that hurts. That's the point of this conversation, not to get into the semantics of, well, we all die and Sindri was trying to protect you. That doesn't add to the conversation. It doesn't add to Brock feeling a sense that he is understood and validated by the people that he's disclosing this incredibly vulnerable information to. So all of us would do well to be mindful of the fact that when somebody is in a vulnerable position and is disclosing their experience, sit with that experience. Be curious about that experience and engage with that rather than trying to take an omniscient point of view as a way to try to diffuse whatever emotional experience that person is having and that you're having being in proximity to it. You will miss the mark more often than you will hit it. Also, I love how many great conversations we have while we're climbing mountains. Silver lining is not the way to go as a default. All right, now I'm excited to use this spear for all the places where that yellow wall is.
Oh, lick my spear. There's eyeball nests all over. Get your throwing arm in here.
I will say, I am slightly disappointed that the spear is not like significantly more powerful than the other weapons. Like, I kind of wish that you were like, holy shit, this is the greatest thing I've ever used in my life. Because if this thing can kill Heimdall... Oh, there's the nest.
Stop bumpering around and smash that thing before more things come out.
I do like that it's a one-hit kill on those hides, though.
Enemies down.
Taking off the spear at anything like that's a sure way to alter your circumstances on the right way. Any more guesses, belt boy?
Oh, all right. Gets bigger the more you take away. Is it time? Because the more removed from events you become, the larger their scope in your memory. No, that's bollocks now that I say it. Never mind.
Today's all right.
Outsmarting the smartest man in the world. Today's all right. It's going to be something totally stupid. Totally. He wants Mimir to overthink this. It's great.
Them eyeballs are taking over this realm. We better beat them out. Show me what you got.
Show me what you got.
You think I can't class nasty just 'cause I make weapons, huh? Say, good eye. That would get you right up there. Spear must be talking to yourself. Figuring stuff out faster than I can teach.
I love it.
It's all about the proper angle with those puppies. You want it straight on. Whoa, you sure you ain't done this before?
Oh, and then they just
See?
stay in?
Dirty enough to climb on, swing on, whatever's you need.
All right, let's go. Ooh!
What have you told children? Put it in the trap.
Get in there. Get in there. Ooh, that's cool. All right.
Great! You got him!
Oh, hello there.
Sorry, didn't mean to scare you or anything.
You did not.
Right, you can bring that back to Ratatoskr whenever you're ready.
Okay. Fire and frost only become more deadly when fueled by wind. Soldiers Sorroter. End of attuned elements. Badass, man. I love that we're this late in the game and we get a new weapon. Hey, thanks for being here, friends. If you're here on YouTube, thanks for watching these VODs. I'm really grateful for your support. And those of you that hang out here on Twitch, thanks for being here live with me. I appreciate that as well.
Ah, that's blocked.
Suck your butt in, Kratos. Yeah, right?
A bit late for that.
Woo-wee!
Got one last favor to ask of the both of you, and we can call us square. What happened down there in the forge with the lady? That's my story to tell, all right?
Agreed.
Well, for a period of time, perhaps.
Mimir.
Oh, very well.
These ugly bugs. Maybe those
That's really good and very important. And I love that Kratos reinforces that. It's fantastic. Because it is his story to tell. I don't think he's talking about the part where the Lady of the Lake forged the spear. He's talking about the part where he figured out why he couldn't communicate with her. Brock didn't have autonomy of that decision. He didn't have the autonomy of how he learned the information, but Brock does have the autonomy of how he creates his narrative around that information going forward. And his assertion that it's his story to tell to Sindri, to Atreus, to whomever else he's going to share that story to, is a boundary. And it's a boundary that Kratos quickly realizes is worthy of being followed and adhered to. And I have a lot of respect for him for that. When Mimir throws his little thing in there, good on Kratos for saying, Mimir, knock it off. Mimir's not technically wrong, but that's not the time. That's not what it's about. What this is about is Brock being able to create some control over the one thing he can control in an uncontrollable situation, which is his narrative. I love that.
Take him down. Nope. You don't got what it takes. Listen, you just made the last mistake of your life. Let go. Find you. I always knew you were crazy.
Let's go fight. Oh. Oh. Oh.
Over here.
Get out of here.
Brother, Angrim's found a perch on high.
Hold it in behind.
Poison, right side.
Yeah, come on over here, bitch. Treat that bitch like a chime.
Oh boy, that's probably enough heart pumping for me today. You pick up the loot. I'll set up shop over yonder.
You like the spear or the blades better? Blades. I don't know what the purpose of me doing that was, but... Yeah! Chucking those is awesome. Like, so much weight to them.
Thank you, Brock. It is a good spear.
Damn straight it is.
Love it! Love how well they take care of each other. It's truly excellent. Might as well craft all these. Because why not? Sigil arrows deal increased status. All damage dealt is increased while runic arrows are fully depleted. I should probably upgrade all those, but I'll deal with that later. Forged iron. Oh, shit. Interesting. You can do that. Okay. Guess I could sell all these off if I don't use them, but whatever. I'm not going to worry about that right now.
Reckon I see how you'll be getting down from up here. Best I find my own way back. Been too auspicious a day to end it horkin' and borkin'.
Brock, when you knew Faye, was she...
Let me stop you right there, killer. Brock ain't one to go breaking no confidences. Not even when it comes to the dearly departed. You don't hear me spreading your business all over town, do you? Smiths don't blab. It's just how it's gotta be.
That is S tier A+ prime time boundaries. Woo. When you engage in an intimate relationship with a person, You are not entitled to any information about that person from prior to the point that they met you, unless it will directly affect you. When Kratos is asking about Faye, he's asking about Faye prior to when they got together. Things that Faye told Brock in confidence. Kratos is not entitled to that information, and Brock setting a boundary to indicate that is really awesome, because that is respectful of Faye. Even though Faye's not physically here, Kratos being present doesn't just get to have that information just because he wants it. Now, you could certainly make an argument like, well, she's dead, so what does she care? True. But the principle itself still stands. If there's anything that Kratos would need to know that's affecting what he's doing right now, I have all the confidence in the world that Brock would tell him. But this is Kratos wanting to feel closer to his wife and get to know her better using Brock as a proxy. And if Brock's not comfortable with that, given what we just talked about, of him not having to be forthcoming with that info, it is well within his right to withhold that information and tell Kratos that he's not going to disclose it. It's difficult, but if you're a person that feels entitled to the history of a person that you are engaged with intimately, whether they are still alive or dead, you might want to rethink that. Now, if not having access to that information is a deal breaker to you in that relationship, then decide you no longer want to engage in the relationship. You also have a right not to disclose everything that happened in your life prior to meeting a person and engaging with them. Nobody is entitled to you and your history if you do not want to disclose it. Again, there are caveats to this when the environment and the adversity at hand could be better navigated with that information in mind. That is, I think, an exception to that rule. But in general, when we're trying to just gather information about somebody because we just want to know it, the boundary is A-okay. All right.
Oh, is that the way down?
Oh, hell yeah. What a throw, Kratos.
And I'll get those gates working for you.
I only hope Sindri's in one piece by the time Brock's done with him. The ice beneath those two is thin enough under the best of circumstances. Where is everyone?
Now a good time.
Oh, lordy.
Want to talk. Dad to dad. Speaking of which, imagine my surprise when Atreus came knocking at my door. He's doing well, by the way, and will continue to do so just as long as I return to Asgard sometime soon. Besides, our friend here has a whole lot to live for.
Arguable.
Run along now, but behave yourself. New spear. Never much cared for Brock. Can't deny the dwarf's talent.
You came to speak. Speak.
Before Odin speaks, I just want to take a second to point out that there is a real, legitimate amount of respect. And I don't mean respect in terms of adoration. I mean respect in terms of acknowledgement of what he's dealing with. From Kratos directed toward Odin. Kratos is not an idiot. He knows that Odin standing here right now is a big deal. And even though he's doing some of these, don't touch my spear and stuff like that, him lowering the spear, not attempting to kill Odin, and listening to what Odin has to say, I think comes from his maturity and having a great deal of respect for the fact that Odin is not a person to mess around with. This is not Atreus going there and having half a deck. This is Kratos going, I know exactly what I'm working with, and I need to be very mindful here because Odin has likely already anticipated what my reaction will be. I think there's probably some real insight here, but there is an immense amount of respect for his enemy here, which I'm sure Kratos was taught from a very young age, that you respect your enemy, which is a good mindset for people to have, because if you don't respect your energy, or if you don't respect your enemy, you are likely to underestimate them, which is the problem that Atreus is having right now. So Kratos respecting Odin here allows him to engage in a more meaningful way here. He is not immune from Odin's ability to get into his mind, though. He started it off immediately, dad to dad. Like, Odin is an expert at controlling engagements, as we talked about ad nauseum a few episodes ago. He is excellent at engaging. He immediately established a framework for this conversation by saying dad to dad. And whether, even if that rings hollow, that is the frame he is bringing from. I mean, if you go from Gestalt therapy, he's bringing from the background to the ground Kratos' identity as father, which he knows is more likely to get Kratos into the space where he's thinking about protecting his son, which means that he might second guess his desire to chop Odin's head off right now, because he knows that Kratos is on thin ice with Atreus. Kratos doesn't know what Atreus has disclosed to Odin and otherwise, but it controls the engagement immediately by saying dad to dad. It is very smart on Odin's part, and it's what makes him dangerous.
You don't really want war, do you, Kratos? All that blood on your hands, on your son's hands? I want peace as much as you do. Perhaps we can find it together.
He's lying.
I know.
That boy of ours is everything I expected. So clever, kind. You sure he's yours? A kid. You.
Whoever wrote Odin, whatever team of people wrote Odin, goldest of the gold stars. Okay? Y'all killed it. I love that line of he's kind, he's curious about this. Are you sure he's yours? I kid. That is brilliant on a level that I don't even know that I can fully quantify. That's empathy. That is a real acknowledgement of his understanding of the dynamic and differences between Kratos and his son. That bores so deep into a vulnerable spot on Kratos, it's not even funny. Because it highlights for Kratos, your son is not like you, which you know, and your son is a hell of a lot like your deceased wife. He just brought so much shit to the surface by making that joke. And it is brilliant from a control the engagement standpoint. Because everybody knows that Atreus is not like Kratos from a general presentation standpoint. He has a lot of similarities. But he's also making a backhanded shot at Kratos when he says that. Your son's kind, he's open-minded, he's thoughtful. You sure he's yours? Is basically him saying he couldn't be yours because you're not those things. Which is vulnerable for Kratos because Kratos is doing a lot of work to try to overcome that stuff so that he can better engage and connect with the people around him. Oh my God, I love that. Is just mwah, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. How subtly that's written and how powerful that is.
Really ought to be very proud. He is the key to peace in our age, to break free from all this fate and prophecy.
My son is not your key.
Oh God, do they not have metaphor in your homeland? Or rather, did they? I'm sorry, that's not fair.
Oh my God, it's so good. All right, I'm not gonna belabor this, but it's so good. He is just fucking lobbing shit at Kratos right now. Oh, should I say was, because you completely destroyed your homeland in a fit of rage. You remember that? Oh my God, it's so good. It's so good. And he delivers it so calmly. Oh my God, this is like maybe my favorite interaction we've seen in the entire game so far. It is so evil. It is so just controlled. It's terrifying how non-chaotic this is. It is so well thought out by Odin. Oh my God. I love this.
I know you're not the god you once were. And now is your chance to prove it.
Return my son, or you may meet the god I once was.
It's not going to intimidate him, Kratos.
And what kind of god is that, Kratos? What do you even know of godhood? In your lifetimes, has anyone ever worshipped you? Ever prayed to
Your
you?
Your son.
Can you even imagine that kind of love?
Your son.
No. You don't care about mortals. You don't care about anything beyond yourself, beyond the monster who kills without cause. You fear what you can never even hope to understand. Is it any wonder that your boy is in no rush to come back to you?
Woo!
Don't listen to him, brother. He's just trying to get in your head. Superior bastard. The nerve of him showing up here. At least you rattled him as much as he rattled you.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't, Mimir. I know Odin lies, yet his words haunt me. Draupnir spear is mine now. I will put it to some use, then make your way home. See, it is the people who think that they are not susceptible to this type of rhetoric that are most susceptible to the influence of this type of rhetoric. This is why it was so important to make the point about respecting your opponent here. When Mimir says, don't listen to him, brother, he's just trying to get in your head. Doesn't matter whether he's trying to get in his head. He did get in his head. Because the thing is, the only way that Odin doesn't get to Kratos here is if Kratos doesn't change. It's if Kratos doesn't do the work that he's been doing. If Kratos was the heartless, raw killing machine that he once was, what Odin just said to him wouldn't matter. But the reality is that Kratos has been working really hard to have empathy, to engage in more human-like emotion and connection. You don't get to block off the impact of a person who you are afraid of and respects words just because you know it's not true. Because when we have deep vulnerabilities down there that people speak to, they get pinged. Now, your goal in a moment like this, if you're Kratos, is to work your way through that, to have a hefty dose of respect for what just happened to you. Odin used an opportunity of vulnerability to put a lot of thoughts in Kratos' head. A lot of thoughts. And some of that pings the vulnerability. Some of that closes certain gaps of things that maybe Kratos hasn't really had answers for. There's a whole number of things that he just did to him. But if you think that you're not susceptible to that type of thing from somebody who's really good at it, you are more likely to get affected by it and get hit by it. And this idea that you just shake it off, I don't think is a good approach from Mimir. I think the better approach would be, hey, dude, let's sit down and let's like work through what just happened, because there's no way you weren't affected by that. Let's really sit and game plan and really put into words what effect that had on you, what grabbed you, what's sticking, and let's talk about it. And let's separate what happened and hold accountable Odin for facilitating that conversation and putting those ideas in our head, rather than just saying, shake it off, you shouldn't be affected by it because what he said's not true. When we talk about working with known variables, a known variable here is this affects people. This affected Kratos. He wormed his way into his head whether he wanted it or not. And that is a variable that has to be considered while making decisions about how to proceed. Not that Kratos is going to make that all go away because he processed it, but we need to make sure that we understand the way in which those variables had an effect on us, because they did, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. There's an entire approach to therapy that's predicated on the idea that suppression of your emotional experience and moving away from an authentic understanding of how you were affected by stuff is what's going to cause problems in your life, because you're not engaging with yourself in a meaningful and authentic and true way. So we have to let our emotional experience out on the table. We have to talk about it. We have to understand it. We have to get to know the way that we're affected by things, because when we can engage with things authentically, we can make more informed decisions and therefore better decisions about how to proceed as a result. So Kratos was absolutely affected by this. That's okay that he was affected by this. It doesn't make him weak. He's dealing with a master manipulator. Odin is as good at manipulating people and worming his way into people's minds as Kratos is slaying gods. As LeBron James is at playing basketball. As Tiger Woods is at playing golf. As Bob Ross is at painting. Like literally that is his craft, and he is a master at it, and it affects people. Now I need to take a second and Odin sounded, well, actually I should flip this around. Tyr sounds hauntingly similar to Odin in the way that he talks about peace and violence. The only other person that we've heard push that narrative is Tyr. And it really makes me wonder the extent to which Tyr was, and I do not use this word lightly, massively gaslit by Odin. I have no idea what happened to Tyr when he was under Odin's thumb in that prison, but man, is he drinking the Kool-Aid now. Like literally, it's like the cadence and the verbiage and all of that stuff sounds so hauntingly similar. Like as soon as Odin said that, my first thought was like, damn, he sounds a lot like Tyr. And then I realized because Odin put Tyr in prison and kept him captive, it's not Odin sounds like Tyr, it's Tyr sounds like Odin. And that is terrifying, because when Tyr was in confinement like that, who knows what Odin did to try to get Tyr to a point where he would echo that sentiment, like to get a literal god of war to step off the ledge of violence and get into an idea that we need peace and love is kind of amazing. And it really speaks to just how powerful he is. But unfortunately, what that does is it makes me take Tyr with a grain of salt, because I don't know how much of Tyr's push for peace is actually autonomous. Like, I don't know the answer to that. I didn't know Tyr ahead of time. And chat, I'm not reading chat right now, but you all got to be careful with the information you give me, because there's a lot of information I don't have, and I'm working with what I do have. I don't know Tyr prior to this. So when you have a god of war who goes full on peace and love and doesn't even look at violence as an option, and then I have Odin sitting here talking about how badly he wants to stay away from war. So I don't have like a deeper point to this, but I just want to like sort of make that observation that sounded hauntingly similar to what we've been hearing from Tyr. And so now I have to be careful with what I hear Tyr say, because I don't know how much of that is him just manifesting the way that he was gaslit by Odin. Really awful, actually, that's the case. But Tyr has injected a lot of issues into our like group dynamic, I think, as a result of that. And it was very weird to hear Odin have that same cadence and sentiment, because it immediately brought me back to sitting at like the dinner table at Sindri in Brock's house, and what Tyr had said and how it's so dissonance into this entire thing. It's just very interesting. So my antenna went up there, and I just wanted to point that out. I don't know where that's going to go, or if that's going to matter more than it just really gives me further respect for how powerful Odin is with his manipulation, and how he can really turn people's minds via words and intellect and empathy. And that's terrifying. He does not need strength. What way can you effectively interact with Odin if you're Kratos in this situation? You don't try to control him. The best way that you could actually interact with Odin there, I think, is to be as non-effusive as possible. You don't even necessarily have to acknowledge him. Or by leaving. Yeah. Odin's there to antagonize. He's there for a reason. It's not a surprise. He didn't just bump into Odin at Whole Foods and he's like, "Oh, hey Odin, how's my son?" Like that's not what happened here. Odin showed up in a very specific way, and it's to antagonize Kratos. It's to bait him into a certain response. And so if you're Kratos and you understand that and you respect how effective he is, and I just lost my train of thought. So if you don't engage with him, if you just let him talk and you just stand there and stare at him, he'd probably be like, "What, you got no words to say," or whatever. But you would get a lot more information about Odin by just not giving him anything to work with. And yeah, get engaged with like your own convictions and your own evaluations of what's going on. But yeah, just show him that he doesn't matter to you. So I will say that the one thing that Odin let on here in that conversation is that one of the things that he cares about is external social reinforcement. That he likes being revered. He likes being respected. Now, what he's not realizing is that people aren't, or maybe he does realize it and he's just insecure about it. People don't follow Odin because they actually care about him. This is the whole complexity of Odin. People don't follow Odin because they actually love him. They don't actually adore him. They don't actually care about him. They don't actually think he's awesome. People follow Odin because he terrifies them and because he controls that. Which is really like the irony of the entire thing, is like a lot of dictators basically demand love and admiration, but they're not actually getting the love and admiration that they're desiring because they're forcing people's hand on it. There's really nothing more fulfilling as it relates to external validation and social reinforcement than people doing it willingly. People actually deciding that you're a person worth investing in and caring about. So the fact that Odin is surrounded by all of what he perceives to be adoration, he knows at the end of the day that those people don't actually give a shit about him. And so he's probably trying to figure out a way to get people to actually give a shit about him. And the only way he knows to do that is to instill fear in people. and to make it known that he's smarter than them and that he's anticipating them. People have to respect him because of what he's capable of, but not because they actually like him. So yeah, when you have somebody like Tyr or like Freyr who are able to bring the masses together. I mean, Freyr brought the dwarves together. Tyr brought tons of people together too. That's legitimately threatening to who Odin is, because those are people who are cultivating a followership through authentic means. That is what Odin cares about and what he wants. And he made that very clear in that conversation and makes some assumption that that's what Kratos wants. That's not what Kratos wants. Kratos wants to chill with Atreus in a cabin in Midgard. So that is one piece of information we got from him that we could potentially use against him at some point. And that's why I say that a lack of engagement with him, a lack of response is going to potentially be a way to move him, because when he doesn't get external reinforcement, seeing that he has affected Kratos, then it makes it seem as if he doesn't matter to Kratos. And what Odin is doing right now is very much making himself matter to Kratos by engaging with his son. I also would not be surprised if Odin came to Kratos because he was surprised at how long it's taking Kratos to come to him. I think he probably was anticipating that if Atreus came to Asgard, that Kratos was going to find a way to do everything he could to get there as soon as he possibly could, and it may have actually frustrated him that Kratos didn't come finding Atreus. That he hasn't actually cultivated like an argument between the two of them. And he's like, what the hell, man? I literally have your son, and you're not going to come after him? You're not going to, like, handle me? What the hell? I also think that's why he treats Thor the way that he treats. Like, it's amazing. Like, Thor basically has a similar experience of his father that his father has of most people. And so one way that his father can control it is to be shitty to Thor. Like, there's so many layers here to Odin. Odin, I think... I have to say that, like, of all the video games we've played, I could make an argument that Odin is maybe one of the most complex and well-written characters in any game that we've played so far. And there's just, like, I could spend hours just talking about Odin at this point. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep going. Ooh, actually, that's a great question. I'm curious if Odin is such a master at social interactions and empathy. Why does he resort to manipulation and fear to control people? Because, there could be any number of reasons for that. He may not have learned how to use that empathy for good. The other thing that happens, Storks, is that it is impossible to cultivate the favor of everyone, which is a really hard lesson that a lot of people have to learn as they come into adulthood. Like, you're not going to please everyone, no matter how hard you try. And if you devote your entire life to trying to please everyone, you're going to lose who you are in the process. And so if you're a person who is driven by social reinforcement and you have certain people who disagree with your decisions or don't like you, then that hurts. And so if you're Odin and you don't really know how to manage that, and maybe you didn't have a good template for how to manage that, one of the ways that you could cultivate universal reverence is to put your thumb on people and control them. So, like, it's also harder to gain the empathy and the admiration of the masses the, like, kind way and the good way. It takes longer because it means you actually have to take time to understand people. You actually have to make it about your constituents, which Odin's not doing. Odin is making it about himself. And I think that's the primary difference here, is this isn't about Odin actually caring about the people that admire him. He just wants the admiration for his own reinforcement of self as a way to cover up whatever his own insecurities are. It's to feed his own ego and, dare I say, even maybe narcissism. It's to feed that, as opposed to actually give a shit about the people that you're trying to unite. He's not actually taking that empathy and working to understand them, because it takes more effort, and there's a chance that maybe people wouldn't like him because of certain decisions he makes, and engaging with that is painful. I mean, there's any number of reasons. You'd have to ask him, and you'd have to get him to have the insight into answering that question, but that would be my hypothesis, and it's a really great question. All right, keep rocking. God, that was good. That was so good, man. All right. Do you think Odin will tell Atreus that he spoke with his dad? No idea. We'll find out. I don't know that that's a good move with Atreus because I think he wants to keep him separate from his dad. You can know a lot about nutrition and still eat a lot of cookies. That's a great way to put that. That's a great way to put that.
Good timing. Let's see what Brock made you.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit. What up, Freya?
Enemy to your left. Very nice.
Oops. You're on fire, Kratos. It will pass. Every time, man. You like it? You like my spear, Freya?
So that's the weapon? A drop near spear?
The Dropnir spear.
Well, any given number of Dropnir spears, I suppose.
Come on, I found a gate. We just need to take the train down.
I do worry, though, if I'm being frank. We've crafted a weapon to kill a god. One could say you're on the verge of returning to form.
Does it scare you? Aiding another violent god.
I'm scared for you, brother. That spear could start a war. The war. If that no longer concerns you, then maybe Freya's right. Maybe the Giants had you in mind all along.
Very interesting time for Mimir to express some degree of hesitation. Kratos has made up his mind, man. See, now I want to retread the entire world looking for spots where I could chuck a spear in. I already know of one place in Svartalfheim that I can do it. Oh, baby. Correct. Mimir was more affected by that conversation with Odin than him. Yep. See, because the thing is, okay, so that's actually, it's a really good point. I was thinking that too, and I wasn't sure whether whether I wanted to say it yet, but I think it is a worthy time to make it. You're not going to change Kratos' mind, and Odin knows that. Unless maybe you get everybody in Kratos' camp to change their mind. And if Mimir starts expressing doubt, and if Brock starts expressing doubt, and if Sindri starts expressing doubt, and if Freya starts expressing doubt, maybe that chips away at Kratos. Like, particularly if you get Atreus on board. So, I mean, there's a lot going on there. Like I said, I could spend hours talking about that. But yeah, Mimir's also scared of Odin. He knows what he's capable of, for sure. Oh, maybe it was Dante. I don't know. I don't really know why Kratos would make a dig at Mimir there. But I mean, we're not wrong here. Like, we do know that there could be a big, gigantic war, and why wouldn't you be afraid of that? Particularly if you're Mimir the Head and you know that Kratos started it. I mean, there is a lot to be worried about here. But that's the thing, right? Is everybody's attempts to avoid certain things are going to be the things that potentially create it, and Kratos not giving his son the autonomy to figure this out on his own potentially is part of the issue. Oh man, remember when Atreus said a bad word in here?
So this drop near spear. You're prepared to use it?
To protect Atreus. I am no one's champion but his, nor no one's god.
That's not true, Kratos. Kratos has convinced himself that he's doing this for Atreus. He's not doing it for Atreus. He's doing it for himself. I think that's probably the most frustrating thing for me here watching this happen. Kratos' unwillingness to acknowledge that this is incredibly selfish, veiled as being this like altruistic champion of his son, is a problem. He's not letting go of the fact that Atreus at some point isn't going to need him. That his relationship at some point is going to have to change from being needed to being wanted. And this, my friends, is where Kratos runs into his big time insecurities. His core vulnerability is, I don't know that I'm a person that anyone, let alone my son, would want to engage with, because he is projecting all of his shame and insecurity and all the shit that he did when he was younger. He is projecting that out onto his son. He's assuming that he's a person his son doesn't want to connect with, which is a massive misfire. If Kratos could see himself as somebody that his son would want to connect with, if he just facilitated some of his autonomy and didn't get in his own way, he might change his tune here. But Kratos is just too locked into this idea that his son needs him. That's the only way I can engage with him, is to protect him and be his champion, regardless of whether Atreus is actually asking for that or not. This is not, he is a champion of himself right now because he's not taking the time to listen. In the same way that he did a beautifully amazing job of listening to Brock and engaging with him in the way that he needed while we were coming up from the lake. That's the kind of energy he needs to bring to his relationship with his son. But his relationship with Brock doesn't hit the vulnerability that his relationship to his son does. And that's the problem. I am worried that my son will see me the same way that I see me, is a problem that a lot of parents have that you really got to get out of. Because if you could present yourself in a way that's meaningful, and you could remind yourself that you're a person that's worthy of connecting to, if you just show up in certain ways and you think about things in certain ways, then you will find that people are drawn toward you. Kratos is not entirely unlike Odin here in that sense. He is operating from he's trying to control things from a position of insecurity rather than let them play out and get to know these things and allow people to engage autonomously. I will engage with my son and have my son around because he is my son and because I am his protector and his champion. Bah! That doesn't allow Atreus the flexibility to determine what role he'd like Kratos to have in his life as an emerging adult. And that's a bummer, man. And this is why the Norns were like, we know what you're gonna do, dude, because you're too locked into your own shit to take inventory on what the people around you need, in particularly your son. And it's a real shame.
Be my form. It is not my nature. Do you understand?
I guess a difference of opinion is hardly the most I'm setting aside for this alliance. As long as the plan is to kill Heimdall, the rest matters little.
There's also a bit of news that Odin has some inkling of what we're up to.
I thought I heard ravens. Damn it. What did he say?
Lies, threats, and more lies. What did you expect?
You think he lies that Atreus is in Asgard?
No. On that, I'm afraid I believe him.
Then the rest matters little.
I saw a gateway near here, overlooking the bay. We can get to it with your spear, I think. This way.
Oh. Boy, even Freya's blinded here. This is okay. Holy crap. I can't believe how much is jam-packed into this game. It's unreal to me. Oh, Lord. Okay. 2 out of the 3 people in this current party have been brutally abused by Odin. Brutally. Freya when she was married to him, and Mimir when he worked for him. And unfortunately, one of the things that's happening right now, which I think is tragic, this is not judgment. This is me really thinking, well, I mean, I guess I'm judging it as being tragic rather than me giving them a hard time for this, is there is, I think, a real trauma response that's happening here from Mimir and Freya in particular that is leading to them having clouded judgment on how we're proceeding here, and is making it so that Kratos appears to be this stabilizing force that's making a decision here against Odin. Freya has experienced an absolute gauntlet of trauma at Odin's hands. And so has Mimir. So he is already internally represented to them in a particular type of way. And they are reacting to their emotional response of that. Understandably so. Him showing up and being present, hearing ravens, is a trigger for them at this point. Kratos is currently in the process of being manipulated and abused by Odin vis-a-vis him taking his son. So we have two people that have already been locked into trauma at Odin's hand and one person who he is actively trying to traumatize. And that is what makes this so painful to an extent to watch them go through, because we're seeing the effects that trauma can have on people. Make more rash decisions. You react to the narratives and the perceptions and experience you had both during and post-trauma. And when you have an opportunity, you think to close the book on how you could maybe handle the trauma, you go for it. So like we're seeing Freya in particular here has kind of foregone her level of thoughtfulness with this in a way that is very out of character for her. And I think it's because she's responding to some of that trauma that's floating in here as the result of being more proximal to Odin. And that sucks. But man, he really did a number on so many people. These three include, notwithstanding.
That gravestone was a keyhole that looks to fit the hilt you found. And if I'm right, you best prepare for a fight. After the field of Cala.
For the king!
Whoa. Hard to fill the callus. Oh, I thought I got that in. No. I don't think I will. What? Dodge that. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh my god. Well, you really got to time that perfectly. Jeez, man. Holy hell. Oh, shit.
Ready yourself. Fall before me. Rebel, full stop. Fall before me.
play this slower.
You should run. Fall before me. Triple full guard.
Shit. Shit. Shit.
Your failure is inevitable.
God damn it. Oh, I thought I hit that parry. Wow. All right. All right, we got this time. I got so impatient in the beginning.
After the field of Callus.
For the king. Triple full guard.
God damn.
You shouldn't run.
There we go. Oh yeah.
Fall before me. Ready to accept the worm. Triple full guard.
Damn it. I do it too early.
Fall before me. Weak goblin. Fall before me.
This guy is so annoying. Fall before me. Fall before me. Fall before me. Nope. Wait. Ha! Damn it.
Fall before me. Triple full guard.
There you go, bitch.
Good riddance, you feckless ball bag.
You knew this warrior.
Do me a favor, brother. You see any more of these ghostly berserker tossers, give them the same. You'll be doing the Nine Realms a favor.
Did these warriors wrong you at some point, Mimir? You're quite agitated, even for you.
No need to rehash ancient history if it's all the same to you.
Very well.
Okie dokie. Oh, that was actually a pretty fun fight, but still not quite like the Sigrun fight was the best in the first one. Oh, what are you doing over there, big dog?
Hey, big guy.
Speak.
Need you to get something for me. A hammer.
A weapon.
No. A forge hammer. Little thing. Symbol of the old resistance. Guild, solidarity, all that. Or it used to be anyway, till the Aesir buried it under that big, gaudy dwarf statue in the bay. Might do the dwarves some good to see it again.
You're not worried that might draw the Einherjar's attention?
The old father nearly slit my throat just to get to you. I might be past giving a shit what he thinks. Just find me at the bar when you've got it.
You'll certainly be able to reach new areas in the bay with that spear.
Aye. Might be worth looking for Durlin's hammer while we're at it. Your choice, of course.
Are you all right?
Not the first time I've had an Aesir threaten my life.
But
Thinking I'd like it to be the last.
Understandable, man. Woo-wee. We're going to hop on that boat in part 23. Because that was a lot tonight. And your boy needs some time to rest. So I appreciate all of you hanging out here. Thank you for taking time out of your day or night. I enjoyed this immensely. I have enjoyed every episode of this. I am honored that so many of you are interested in what my thoughts are while I play. So thanks for giving me the time of day. As always, leave a like on the stream, please. Leave a comment if there was something that stood out to you in this episode. Share my stuff with people if you think that they might enjoy it. I do not underestimate the power of sharing my stuff. If you're binging these, I'll see you in the next episode. If you are waiting for the next one to come out, I'll get it as soon as I can. Follow the links down in the description. I will catch you on the next one.